Right, I've been putting off recording this one for a few months now. People keep asking me, how's the TRT going? And honestly, I've not really been in the right headspace to talk about my experience over the last few months. I feel like now I've come through the worst of it, and it's a good time to talk about how that's gone and give you some recommendations as well if TRT is something you are considering, either now or in the future. And if that is you, please don't forget what I say through this episode. So, I started TRT in February this year. And the reason I finally took the plunge after considering it for a few years and suspecting I had low testosterone and then confirmed with multiple blood tests was because I was riddled with injuries. I had chronic lower back pain. I had knee problems, a foot problem, shoulder problem, all at the same time. And it was really impacting on my mental health. I couldn't train. I was in a lot of pain. I was not loving life. So finally started TRT. I was on cypionate, which is one of three esters, the others being enanthate and sustanon, that are available in the UK at 140 milligrams a week, 2 injections. I was also on HCG, which is designed to protect fertility and give you an exit path if you ever decide to come off TRT, because being on HCG gives your body the best possible chance of restarting natural production of testosterone, because when you start TRT, it shuts off your body's natural production. And didn't notice anything for a couple of months. That was expected. Got a bit more hair on my upper arms and on my belly and my chest than I used to. That was the first thing I noticed. Then training started going a bit better. Then I started feeling more recovered and I started feeling less pain. And it was about that time, maybe spring into early summer, started feeling the benefits and I felt pretty good. I also started noticing I was getting a couple of spots on my chest and my shoulder. Didn't really think it was anything to worry about. It was just a little bit of acne. I was like, yeah, whatever, it'll pass. It's fine. I feel good. But that then got worse and worse and worse. It spread from just a small area on my chest to my shoulder, to my other shoulder, to my upper back, to my neck, to my lower back, to my whole upper body, basically. Weirdly, nowhere visible. So not on my arms, not on my face, not on the front of my neck so much, a little bit on the back. And I have been dealing with that since then. And it has been psychologically so, so difficult to deal with. And that's why it's taken me this long to answer the question, how's the TRT going? Because this is the dark side, really, of taking exogenous hormones. Now, the positives are there, right? My training is going really well and I'm loving the training. My body feels stronger and less fragile than it has for years. Like, I still get a bit of tightness in the morning in my lower back, or the day after a leg day. It sometimes feels a bit tight and sensitive, but it's not injured. And there's a bit of disc degeneration there. I mean, I've herniated a disc in my back 3 times when I was younger, so that's okay. It's natural. I'm all right with it. It's reality. A few cat cows in the morning and a few good mornings seems to fix it. As the day goes on, it eases up. Now I'm recording this at 2:15 in the afternoon. There's no back pain there, and there won't be for the rest of the day. Might be a little bit sore, a little bit tight when I wake up in the morning, but it doesn't stop me doing anything really. I can still run. I can still play football. I can still train hard. My other injuries, my knees are fixed. My foot is fixed. My shoulder was fixed. A little bit of tightness, but again, an MRI showed up a little bit of arthritis and degeneration in my shoulder joint, which is okay. It doesn't stop me doing anything. It's just something I need to keep on top of with mobility work. And I've got a few daily stretches that I do as part of my morning mobility work when I wake up first thing in the morning, and it keeps it at bay. So I'm all right with that. The benefits are there. I feel energized. I feel focused. Life is good, right? But the downside has been the acne, man. And it's been so, so hard. I did not know when it started that there is a massive lag between the side effects of hormone imbalance showing up and what that means. So there's an 8-week lag. And if I'd known that when I had first seen that I'd got a few spots, I would have lowered my dose then and there. But I didn't do that. I stayed at 140 milligrams a week, injecting twice a week, which, by the way, is quite a lot of oil to be injecting yourself in one go. My blood test at the 3-month stage showed that my testosterone and free testosterone was way higher than the clinical reference range. And I was like, holy shit, no wonder training's going so well. No wonder people keep telling me my arms and my back look jacked. But if I'd known then about the 8-week lag, I would have immediately reduced my dose, and I didn't. So I then struggled through the summer, through months of outbreaks all over my back, my chest, and my shoulders. And it was only when I started doing more and more research about it that I realized that I needed to lower my dose. So I lowered my dose 10 weeks ago now. So we're in mid-September, approaching the end of September. It must have been June to July. I lowered it to 90 milligrams a week and then spread that across 3 injections a week rather than 2, because that flattens out the spikes and the fluctuations. So the combination of lower dose, more frequent injections, and less volatility, and obviously would bring my testosterone and my free testosterone down, which would hopefully mean that the acne eased up. And it did a little bit. I did notice some improvement with my partner's help. I've also started a proper skincare regime, and I know so much more about skincare than I used to, which is not something that I really care for, but I didn't know what azelaic acid or niacinamide or benzoyl peroxide were before this summer. Now I do. And I was optimistic that that would be the answer. And actually, maybe a month ago, 6 weeks ago, it really did seem like things had quietened down, and I was like, okay, this is good. Around that time, I had my 6-month blood test, and my testosterone and free testosterone were a little bit lower, but still above the reference range. And when I had my consult with the doctor from the clinic, he did say you could still get the benefits of TRT and reduce your dose further still. And he did say that that's a difficult sell to most guys, to reduce the dose. But it wasn't for me, because I was still getting outbreaks. And in fact, the things seemed to settle down, which made me feel good. I felt like I was on the road to recovery. And then it exploded again. And actually, I think it was actually worse. And it just, like, my chest calmed down. My skin looked good again, and then it exploded up with like loads of spots. And my shoulders and my back all like settled down and then exploded up again. And that was the hardest bit of this whole process. And that's what I've been dealing with for the last 6 weeks. It's been a head fuck because I overanalyze it. I worry about it every single day. I see my body first thing in the morning and last thing at night, and it's just a constant reminder. It's crippled my self-confidence in many ways. It's made me feel less attractive. It's made me self-conscious about taking my top off. Thankfully, we didn't have a foreign holiday this year in the sun, and I've just moved gyms, and I don't shower at my new gym because it's a tiny little pure gym changing rooms, and it's 2 minutes from home, so I just come home for a shower. But all of that has been weighing heavily on me so much through the summer. Like, at times I've thought, is this actually better than being in pain and being injured? There's days where I think, I'd rather have the back pain back and have my skin than be where I am. And this is quite hard to talk about still now. So 3 weeks ago, I lowered my dose again to 60 milligrams a week. So another big percentage drop comparatively. I won't do the maths, but 140 to 90, then 90 to 60 a week. And now I'm injecting every day. So a tiny amount every day, microdosing basically, which really flattens out the fluctuations as much as you possibly can, because I wanted this to be me giving it the best shot of success. This is really the last roll of the dice, right? If this doesn't work and I'm still getting acne, non-negotiably, I'm going to come off because it's not worth it. I mean, yes, my injuries have recovered, so it was worth it from that perspective, but it's not worth the continued acne for the sake of the benefits that I get from it. So the reason I feel okay to talk about this now is that I'm not out of the woods at all, but things definitely do seem now to be calming down. Now, I'm cautiously optimistic. I have been here before. I was here 6 weeks ago, and I said to Lucy and I said to other people, I think it's calming down, I think it's getting better. I think I'm on the road to recovery. And then my body just went, no, fuck you. You're not out of the woods yet. And then that was so hard. And I am prepared for that happening again. That might happen again in the next 3 weeks. And if it does, we're done. I will be consulting with the clinic and increasing HCG and coming off the testosterone and restarting natural production and giving myself the best shot of living the best life I possibly can with slightly lower than optimal testosterone, but at least my skin will be clear. Or, best case scenario, this is the start of the recovery and I keep seeing the new spots slow down and the old ones recovering quicker, which is what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. And then in 3 weeks' time, I'm hopefully just in the recovery phase of looking after the spots that have already appeared. Now, I'm so grateful for a couple of things. Like my face didn't break out. I had a couple on my face. You can see, if you're watching the video, you can see I've got a couple just up here on my eyebrow. I mean, what I will say is, like, when I was a teenager, I did get spots. I had acne on my forehead, I had acne on my cheeks, and that's partly why I'm so self-conscious about it. And that's what's made me prone to getting it this time as well. So that's one thing I'm grateful for, and it hasn't appeared on other obvious parts of my body that are always on show, like my arms, legs, etc., or my neck up here. So that is positive, because if that had happened, I would have come off straight away. And there's still a chance this will work, so it's not all doom and gloom. I've got some good benefits from it. But this is like last roll of the dice, like I said. If you're watching on the video, you might be able to see I've got a couple of spots there on my shoulder, right shoulder. By the way, this was much worse a month or so ago. Left shoulder, I sleep on my left shoulder, so it's a little bit worse on that side, you can see. The other thing I'm grateful for is that none of this is cystic acne. It's not scarring. The old spots fade and go away. So it could have been much worse. If you go to Reddit and look up TRT acne, some guys get absolutely fucked up. And I can't believe that some of those guys persevere with the therapy through their skin getting the way it does. And all I can think is that their symptoms must have been so bad beforehand for them to persist with it when they're getting those side effects. Now, if you have never had acne in your life, you could probably start TRT and this will never be a consideration for you. I was talking to a guy who's on 200 milligrams a week, which is a high dose, and he hasn't had any of this. So it's not like my experience will be the same as yours. Acne might not be the only side effect you have to worry about. Blood clotting is another, but that's why you work with the clinic and you get blood tests so that if that does become a risk, they can advise you on what to do. Hair loss is another. If you are destined for male pattern baldness, then TRT can accelerate that. Now, there is some baldness in my family. My hair has not been falling out, so there's that. In fact, I've got more fucking hair. Like, what is that about? And I'm guessing that at this dose now, 60 milligrams, which is way lower than some people need to get good results, I'm guessing I'm now in the high end of the clinical reference range for free testosterone, but not so high that I get all these side effects. That's the hope. So my recommendation to you, if you are considering TRT or you're exploring this path, which lots of people I know are, because people ask me about it all the time, is that if you get to the point where you're starting TRT, challenge the prescription. So if you're working with the clinic and they say, right, you're starting on cypionate and it's going to be this dose. The first question I would ask is, okay, what's the rationale for cypionate? Why not sustanon or enanthate? The reason I would ask that is because cypionate is the most expensive of the three esters, and there's very little difference between enanthate and cypionate. Enanthate's a little bit cheaper. There is some small molecular change, I think, that I don't know. And sustanon is way cheaper. So don't just accept what the clinics say as gospel. Ask them, be informed. Ask them why you're prescribing that. Because the reason I ask that is my clinic, which is not the country's largest clinic, Optimail/Manual, who are partnering now with James Smith to get as many men as possible on TRT. They asked me, okay, so these are the three esters that you have available. These are how they differ. These are how they are similar. What would your preference be? That's how it should be. As far as I understand it, Optimail don't do that. And the second thing I would ask about the prescription is, why are we starting on that dose? So if I was as informed now as I was when I started, I would have asked to start on the minimum effective dose, not a dose that is guaranteed to work. Because if I'd started at 60 or 70 milligrams a week, I may have still experienced the benefits of injury recovery, better progress in the gym, energy, libido, everything else, but without all of these nasty side effects that have really fucked with my mental health over the last 6 months. And the reason I think clinics don't do that and they go straight for the high dose is because they want to give people the best possible chance of experiencing the quickest and most noticeable reduction in the symptoms that led to you starting TRT in the first place. So if in 3 months' time you feel fucking awesome and those problems you had before you started are gone, then you're way more likely to continue. But if you're only noticing some symptom reduction and you think there's still some progress to be made before you get to full reduction, you might be more inclined to go, I'm not sure this is for me. So it's not within the clinic's interest to start you on a minimum effective dose and work up. It's more within their interest to start you on a maximal dose. And if you get the side effects, then you deal with that when they happen and then work down. I would highly recommend anyone starting TRT, especially if the reasons you start are not so severe that you can handle it taking a little bit longer, potentially, to ask if you can start on what they believe the minimum effective dose would be and work up from there, especially if you're worried about baldness or acne, which you should know if you're prone to baldness. Look at your bloodline. You should know if you're prone to acne. Look at your past and the past of your family and your genetics. And if either of them are a concern, I would really recommend starting lower and working up. Because the experience I have had has been great symptom reduction, felt good for a month, then the side effects kicked in, still had the symptom reduction, but now my head was all fucked up by all of the acne and now I've been working down from there. And if I'd known all of this then, as soon as I had noticed the sides kicking in, I would have said, I want to reduce my dose. I want us to find the minimum effective dose. And then if I need to, I can work up from there. So I'm at 60 milligrams at the moment. If this works, I will stay here until my skin settles down and it's back to baseline. But then I might push it up again. I might go to 65 or 70 a week and just see. and try and find that sweet spot where I'm maximizing the benefits I get from it, but without the side effects. So I'd highly encourage you to do the same, because the clinic won't do that for you. They want you to be a long-term customer. The way that they do that is by making sure you quickly notice results, and they will risk you getting side effects and you having to deal with the consequences of that. Now, maybe you don't give a shit if you get a little bit of acne. I mean, have you seen some pro bodybuilders? They obviously don't care. But if you're worried about it, far better for it to take a little bit longer and you minimize the risk of it happening. Or if it does happen, the impact is much, much lower because you know what to do and it won't explode up because you're on a minimum effective dose or thereabouts, versus being on a huge dose and then having to work down and it taking months and months. Another thing I noticed in my research on Reddit and elsewhere is that guys will take all sorts of additional things to manage the side effects of the TRT. So, for example, Accutane is commonly prescribed for teenagers who have really bad acne. And there's guys on TRT that will take it. Now, Accutane can lead to depression, suicidal thoughts, and the idea of taking something else to manage the side effects of a thing that I'm taking already just seems fucking batshit crazy to me. And many of the guys start TRT because of having depressive symptoms and having poor mental health. So you've started something to address a problem, and then you're having to take something else to fix the side effects of the thing you are taking that can lead you to having the same effects that you had when you started the TRT. Why would you do that? Or another thing that people take is finasteride to lower DHT, I think, which is something to do with hair loss and can potentially help with acne as well. And finasteride can kill your libido. So one of the other main reasons that people start TRT is because they have no libido or erectile dysfunction in a lot of cases. So you start TRT for that problem, then you get acne or you're worried about hair loss. So you start taking something else that risks the symptom that you had before you started taking TRT coming back again. No, that is not how to do it. Man, it's crazy to me. So I hope this is helpful if you are considering TRT or you are on this journey already. Remember what I have said. And hopefully, the next time I do a TRT update, it will be good news. But if it's not, the next update I give will be that I've come off. And I will explain the thought process behind that. And I will explain the actual process that I've gone through to hopefully restart my body's natural production of testosterone so I can live the best possible life I can. Kind of felt good to get this out there, even though it was hard to talk about. I'm really grateful I've got such a strong support network in my life that have helped me through this. Lucy in particular, who has had to listen to me complain and feel insecure about all of this stuff for months now. But hopefully I'm through the worst of it and good things are coming. Have a good one. Speak soon.